to do it, and it then seems to go join Zooms that I've originated. I don't know if it does it for others.
And I got a message that you're the host.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Christian.
He's actually online.
Yeah, you hopped on here.
And he's gone.
I'm here. I'm here for just a minute. I was
Okay.
able to jump on. I got the message from Brian and wanted to jump on and make sure that we got a host for this meeting. I am out
Okay.
in the field in Missouri as I have been, and excited to keep up with the recordings, but I can't join for the meeting right now. But thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Christian.
I will make you the host, Brian, now,
Thank you, Ben.
so you can share.
Okay. Well, thank you for everybody joining. Yeah, we're sad Christian hasn't been able to host these the past couple weeks or months. No one's more sad than me. So if anyone would like to get more involved and maybe host these at some point, that's always an option. Yeah, so April, it's primary month. Welcome to April. I think it's springtime out there, if it would stop raining. Yeah, tonight we're going to talk about several things. We got the convention coming up June 1st. We had an event last week with Cameron Schroy in Gettysburg. We're going to talk about primary day and our friends at Ballot PA and their effort to repeal the closed primary system that we have in PA. And then the big topic for this month, we're talking about signature gathering. You know, all of you, attend these kind of calls, and we're so happy to have you. People look for ways to get involved, and this is going to be a big one. Gathering the signatures that we need to get people on the ballots. And then we're still looking for additional candidates and a few other things like that. So yeah, let's start with the PA Forward Convention. Is there someone that would like to speak to this? Maybe Ben or Christine?
Sure. We have set up a date and time and a venue for our convention this year. It will be at the Hilton Garden Inn in Gettysburg. The programming will be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We'll be taking care of, as the slide says, we'll be taking care of important business, such as electing our state chair for the next 4 years. Nominations are open. If you want to run for state chair, please contact somebody on the election or the executive committee, and we'll put you in the on the ballot. First, I'd like to pause. If you're not talking, could you please mute yourself? We'll have speeches from statewide nominees and special guests. We're still planning on who those guests will be, but we will also not on this slide. We will be discussing proposed revisions to the bylaws. If you have a revision that you want to have us consider, please get that in before May 2nd. Also, any resolution you want the convention to consider, that also needs to be into the executive committee by May 2nd as well. We will be charging a fee for the convention, but that is to pay for the lunch and also help pay for the costs associated with holding the convention. Brian.
Great. Yeah, we had a great time last year. I think we're in a little bigger venue this time, and lunch being included, I think it'll go much smoother, now that we're another year along in our journey of building out our organization. So can't wait. Okay, yeah, so if anybody would be interested in helping plan the convention, I think there's still things to organize, and if you have any training seminars that you'd like to run or speak at the event, we have several people that you can talk to here. So okay, next, yeah, we'd like to talk about an event last week at Adams County in Gettysburg. Yeah, maybe we could hear from somebody that was there. Peter, you were there. Would you like to speak about it, or anyone else that was there?
Sure, it was a great gathering. Andrew Yang came and presented, as the picture shows, introduced Cameron Shore, who signed the pledge right in front of the audience of the Forward Party pledge, and then he gave a nice speech, and then he later did a little Q&A, which unfortunately we had a microphone failure, so we didn't get the video of that, but he did that, and we have a silent movie if anyone's interested.
Well, and he has a live stream on his Facebook, so if anyone was interested in checking it out on Facebook, you could see the whole event, and I'd recommend checking out his website. This was a race that we were interested in getting involved in. He's running against Doug Mastriano for state senate, and we all know, Doug Mastriano from running for governor last time. He's gotten quite the reputation for himself, and after what he did, his attempts to really decertify Pennsylvanians' votes for president, I think there's a lot of appetite to see a challenger for him, and Cameron just seems like the right kind of candidate that will have a real chance in this race. So we wanted to put our support behind him.
Yeah, he's running as a forward Democrat, as I understand it.
Right. Right. So couldn't be more excited.
No,
Okay.
he's
Something about that?
Oh, sure.
yeah, I was gonna say it's Eric Settle. I was there, and it was really a nice event. I mean, and Andrew made a really important point, which is particularly in a place like Adams County, which from a Democratic perspective is so limited, that having Cameron on the ballot really makes a difference, because it brings people out to vote for him, and hopefully brings out people to vote for us. And the crowd was very supportive of what we're doing. Chris was there. I know Chris just joined us as well. It was a great event. And I must tell you that, after the event was over, I had a chance to drive over. I'd never been to the Gettysburg battlefield. And I must tell you, it reminds you when you're there how fragile democracy is, and how not so long ago this country was split in two. So it was a great place to be. And I think for the group, I think for the convention, I think hopefully there's some time either before or after to get over, because if you haven't been to the battlefield, it's well worth it.
Absolutely. Eric, couldn't agree more. We went last year, and it was a great experience, if you haven't been there in a while. Yeah, was there anybody else that wanted to say something?
I was also there, and afterwards I milked it as much as I could by posting about it on my personal Facebook and some other Facebook groups I'm in, just to give the Forward Party a little bit of publicity. And I think that it's so great that Forward allows people who are Republican or Democrat by registration to affiliate with us, because that is such a unique and valuable avenue towards voters who might and other politicians otherwise might not give us a second chance. For example, Beth Farnham was there, who was running against Joyce, and I actually am acquaintances with her, and I know from Facebook interactions that she is really hostile towards the notion of any kind of a third party. But she was there to support Cameron Schroy because Cameron Schroy is a Democrat. And the fact that the Forward Party is willing to support candidates like Cameron, who don't necessarily have to become Forward Party candidates in totality, that is a wonderful, I think, avenue for us to build alliances and to really show people like Beth Farnham and other partisans who are really, really hostile towards third parties that the Forward Party can do something constructive without just being a spoiler.
I'm so glad you said that, David. That's absolutely right. You know, we've had great success last year, you know, having events endorsing candidates from other parties. We'll do more of that this year. So yeah, if you know someone that, you know, you think is running as a Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or something else, and you think that we should affiliate with them, please bring it up. Well, you know, we're always looking to support great candidates, no matter how they're registered.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share?
So I would like to address somebody, thanks, Brian, and all you guys. I wish I could have been there. Somebody just asked a question about writing-in candidates, perhaps. I think it was Bob. I think probably somebody who's more involved in politics, like Eric or Chris, might be a better person to answer the question. But I think that writing in a candidate for the primary is not going to accomplish much, I guess. Eric, did you see the question that Bob asked? He said, "Do we have to write these candidate ins? My mail-in ballot has none of them." So yeah, go ahead.
The reason you're not seeing them on your primary ballot, Bob, is because both Eric and Chris are running as forwardists, so they will not appear on any primary ballot. And Chris Foster is running in Senate District 33, and that's only so he would only be on the Democratic primary ballot in Franklin and Adams County. So unless you
mean
so that
Cameron,
is-
right? Cameron.
Yeah,
Cameron.
Cameron Schroy.
And if we do our job, presumably Eric and Chris will both be prominently displayed on the
On the November ballot, they'll be there if we get the number of signatures we need.
Right.
exactly.
Okay,
Right.
great.
We'll have our own line item. It'll say Forward Party.
Okay, and yeah, and we're early enough. We don't need to talk about write-in candidates at this point. That'll be another discussion down the road. We can still get people on the ballot. Okay, moving along. Yeah, that brings us to primary day, 4/23, next Tuesday. Tomorrow, April 16th is the last day to request a mail-in ballot if you're still interested in that. Find independent candidates to challenge uncontested elections. Yeah, after tomorrow, we're going to know who's on the ballot in September. And honestly, a lot of those elections for state house and state senate are already decided because no one's challenging the candidates. So yeah, we can start recruiting independents to run against these candidates. And yeah, race is on. We'd also love to find the candidates like we were just talking about that we want to affiliate with that support our ideas, or even to know who we most want to oppose if they, oppose our ideas. So I have a sheet here. This is just something that I wrote up. I know you can't read it, but it's all I'm suggesting is we should reach out to the candidates on the ballot, everybody on the primary. If you look up your local candidates, you can ask them just a few simple questions about where they stand on our priorities. Do they support open primaries? Do they support ranked choice voting or instant runoff? Do they support changing the system to allow for more independent and third-party candidates. This is, a lot of these candidates never get asked about these issues, and they're the ones with the power to change it. So if you could get your state house, state senate members on the record, how they feel about these things, let us know. We'd love to know, where we have allies and where we have people to convince. That being said, when you're out voting for primary candidates, I wish you all the best. And just remember that in Pennsylvania, there are.
I have a question if it's time for that.
Sure, Norma.
Somebody just put in the chat that they registered as a Republican to vote against Trump. I also did that. However, because I was intending to vote for Nikki Haley as a means of keeping Trump off the ballot. Obviously, I lost. I didn't succeed. But now I'm feeling that I shouldn't vote at all for president in the Republican primary because I think and I'd like your opinions about this. I think that there's a risk in voting for anybody as because then the delegate would have choice. Ultimately, I believe I'm questioning to vote for Trump. In other words, what if I said not Trump? Or I don't know what to say, but I'm afraid to cast a ballot. A vote for in any way for a Republican, because I'm afraid it will be used ultimately as a vote for Trump by the delegate.
Does anyone know how the Republican primary ballot will show? Can you still vote for Nikki Haley or other candidates?
Well, it doesn't matter because Nikki Haley's mute. But so then what should I do? I'm afraid I shouldn't. I'm afraid I shouldn't vote for in any way for a Republican candidate because the delegates ultimately decide what they're going to do. Am I correct on that?
Well, Norma, if there's still a choice on the ballot that's not Trump, there's
no choice. I don't think there's anybody running against him, is there?
Yes, I think you'll probably find Nikki Haley's probably still on the ballot.
She is.
Say that again.
Write in. Maybe you can write in.
Yeah, here's the thing. Unless they change the
my
rules.
fear is
I'm sorry. Let's have one person.
My fear is that if I put anybody's name in, that it's going to be dependent on what the delegates do, right? So it's not just me. I don't get to raise my hand in the delegates. So whoever's going to be the delegate, is that the right word? From our jurisdiction, they're ultimately going to cast a vote, and I'm afraid that they will cast a vote for Trump.
Okay, I think we understand the question. Let's one at a time. Jack, okay, Jack seems like he wants to say something.
So I was a delegate once upon a time, like in 2012. And the way it works in Pennsylvania in the Republican Party, state votes is pretty much as a block. So if Trump, regardless of, even if you're delegate, you're not wrong, but it kind of doesn't matter, right? So at this point, the state of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania Republican Party will send all of their delegates to the Electoral College for Trump, or to the convention for Trump. And at this point, because he's pretty much the only one standing and he's likely to win a plurality of the Republican votes in the state in the primary. And if he does, he's going to essentially get all of the, he's going to then win
Get all of the delegates. But
so let's get some more voices on this. Eric, did you want to finish what you were saying?
No, right. So what I was saying is that I think that if there's another choice on the ballot, you should vote for the person who's a choice other than Donald Trump, if that's what you want to do. And I think the idea that someone else put on the table, if there's only Donald Trump, open up the thing and do a write-in for Nikki Haley. Because at the end of the day, the media will report, there will be a report to the extent there's another choice, that it will show that Donald Trump got, 95% of the vote or 80% of the vote, and 20% of people voted for Nikki Haley. So I wouldn't worry. I would look, here's the reality. Donald Trump is going to be the nominee of the Republican Party. That's not our problem these days, for those of us who aren't Republicans anymore. So I guess my advice would be, if Nikki's there, vote for her. If
She's
not,
not, I don't think she will be.
Uh,
Yeah, no, I just similarly, Eric, I just kind of looked it up, and according to Spotlight PA, despite dropping out, Governor Nikki Haley will appear on the ballot. But either if you write her in or vote for her, it's a statement. You're making like a protest vote, and it could impact the percentages reported by the media. But Pennsylvania being a winner take all delegate state, voting, not voting, switching to Democrats or Republican, like it's not going to change anything. Donald Trump is going to be the Republican nominee because our primary is so late. We have like no impact. You can do whatever, any of those things, but you can make a statement by voting for someone else.
Okay,
If I
Desiree,
understand.
did you want to get in on this? I saw your hand go up again.
I was just waiting because I don't want to like cut in on everybody, but you can pull up a sample ballot, and like Rachel just said, Nikki Haley is on our ballot for the Republican ticket. So if it were me, I'm registered independent because I think primaries are stupid. But I would go in and make a statement, like Rachel said, and vote that way. Obviously, we can't tell you how to vote, but Donald Trump is going to win all the delegates from Pennsylvania. It's kind of a given at this point. That's why I hate how late our primary is, because we're a swing state, and yet we make no difference in the primary. But yeah, that's what I would do. And most counties have their sample ballots up. York County, of course, doesn't. But I pulled up Delaware County and just a random district, and yeah, it's showing Nikki Haley actually above Donald Trump's name. So just to give you a reference.
Okay, great. And Desiree, you would put your hand up there.
I'm good, but thank you. Everybody
Oh.
covered it. I was going to say,
Oh.
Thank you.
on the
Okay, good.
ballot, like Howard Dean. I think he's the other guy for the Democrats, but yeah, they're all still on it. So thanks.
Dean Phillips, you mean? Dean Phillips.
Yeah, somebody named Dean. Yep.
Howard Dean is a few cycles ago. Okay. Anybody else on the subject while we're here? Okay, great. Great. How about other races, Pennsylvania races? There's no this Bob Casey. Is there any choice on the Bob Casey primary?
Yes, yes, there is. I believe there is. It's a woman. Sorry to just jump in. I saw her on TikTok, and she has been challenging him on his stance with Israel and Palestine. But I believe she is challenging him on the ballot. I don't know 100%, but I've seen her stuff online. I have to find her name.
Okay.
For the Democrat in the Senate, it is Bob Casey versus William Parker. For the Republicans, there are three candidates on the ballot. It's going to be David McCormick, Joseph Vodbarka, and Brandy Tomasetti.
Okay.
For the state races, let's go with.
Well, maybe we don't need to list all of them unless there's something that sticks out, especially that people should keep.
The Attorney General race on the Democratic side has 5 candidates, and that will decide who Eric's going to be facing against on the Democratic side. There's only 2 Republicans in that primary.
Okay, great. Anybody want to speak to any of those races? Anybody that they particularly like or think that we should, know that you like for some reason? Okay. Okay, great. Well, yeah, so primary day is coming up fast. Yeah, and this brings up a good friend of ours, Ballot PA, just held an event this past week, the unprimary They're continuing their push for the repeal of our closed primary system. Like all of this that we just talked about, gamesmanship, knowing, you got to register as this, so many, to be able to vote. We don't have to do that. Our state can choose another system. Other states have chosen other systems. And it's, we just think that this is the way it's done because we've lived in Pennsylvania and that's all we've ever known. So they had a great event this past week. Our friend Jen from Independent Pennsylvanians was there. I have a link here. I'll put in the chat. If anybody was interested in watching the live stream, I highly suggest it. It was a lot of good messages. Yeah, check it out. And also, if anyone is familiar with Nick Troiano, he is a PA native that ran as an independent for Congress, and now he works for Unite America. He has this book, The Primary Solution. I read it. It's great. It covers all the things we're talking about. He uses Pennsylvania as an example a lot of times as a state that really needs to make some adjustments to their primary system to get some better results. Has anyone read this book? I know a couple of us had talked about having it as a book club. Would there be interest in having a PA Forward book club if we were to say, I'll read this and have a meeting? Would anybody be interested in that sort of thing?
I would.
Nancy would?
Yeah.
Okay. I know Gabe had mentioned you might be interested, so maybe it's something we put together if we could get some interest.
Me too.
Bob
I was
would?
just. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to add to what you're saying, Brian, I was at that meeting on last Monday also, as was Norma. There were about 100 people there, and a very strong contingent, a youth contingent from surrounding, colleges and universities, of about 25 young people with T-shirts and all that. It was it was a really great. It was a pep rally, and it was really, really good. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah,
Probably on ballot. I'm sure that I haven't looked, but there was a lot of video taken. You could look at openprimaries.org or ballot PA online.
Yeah, I think I just shared their live stream. So if
Okay.
you look there, you can watch the whole thing. Yeah, they're really it's such a good cause. There was some hope that they were going to get things changed for this primary season, which didn't end up happening. Hopefully the next one. So they're going to keep going though. Any other comments or questions about these things? Okay. Great. So here's the big topic for this month. We have statewide candidates. You heard from one a little earlier, Eric. I'm not sure if Chris is on the call, but we have statewide candidates, and we are still, we're so excited that this year every Pennsylvanian is going to have at least 2 forward candidates on their ballot. They're going to see Forward Party on their ballot. It's really going to be, they're going to say, oh, what's this? I should look into them more. And how we're going to get that happen is to gather signatures to get them on the ballot. Now, this is new for us. We haven't had to do this before, besides a few, just a handful of signatures last year. But other states have had to gather tens of thousands of signatures. Other organizations across the country gather signatures to get ballot initiatives and things on the ballot all the time. So this is new for us, though. And this is one of the times that there's a huge opportunity to help. Between now and, we'd like to maybe gather these signature pages up at the convention. So June 1st, somewhere in that time frame. If you could get 1-2 sheets full of signatures, it would be a huge help. So I'm going to let a few people talk about this. You've heard from a couple already. Christine, if you could. Christine, did I spell your name correctly here? Maybe I messed it up. I'm sorry.
It should be over my face because I don't do it because it lags, but
I didn't- I
Kristine.
missed the E. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, please let us know about your experience and what you're thinking about.
So, my experience is I was the state manager for the Joe Jorgensen presidential campaign here in Pennsylvania back in 2020. I personally escorted around the vice presidential candidate Spike Cohen across the east side of the state, and we, in like a 4-day period, I think it was, held 11. I think it was 11 signing events, and we collected, I think, close to 1,000 that weekend. My husband's shaking his head yes that it was about that because he was with me. So I have to say I have a little bit of experience when it comes to collecting signatures. I've also ran for state representative as a third-party candidate, and had to collect 600 signatures myself. So I had made a video. I gave it to Ben to share out with everybody who would want to see it. I think he put it on like a link-only YouTube thing. It's not the greatest. It's a download of a download, but it gives some information. Essentially, primary day is the biggest day for a third party to get signatures because of the requirements and everything when it comes to signature collection, needing it to be county specific, and in some races, region, like in their territory specific too. So when you go out to a polling location, you know that the people who are showing up there are registered voters. So that kind of checks that off the list. You know that they vote in that area, which checks it off the list. And I think Peter just shared the link in the chat. Essentially, primary day allows you to kind of know for almost certain, as long as you guide them in how to fill it out correctly, that those signatures are valid. So it helps to cut down a lot of the work going towards turn-in day, which is August 1st. And there's some videos out there on how to do it. I'm not going to go through this unless anyone has any specific questions, just because we've talked about it in some other videos that there's recordings of. But essentially, you want to make sure, in like a nutshell, that they sign their full legal name. Don't sign Joe for Joseph. That they write out their address where it's legible. They print where they need to print and sign where they need to sign. County, township, and city needs, or not, excuse me, not county, city, township, or borough needs to be not where they live, but where they vote. So, for example, I live in Dallastown, and I have some friends who live in Dallastown. Well, I vote at Dallastown Borough, so I would write Dallastown. But I have some friends who live in York Township. They vote at York Township, but they live in Dallastown. So they would write York Township. They would not write Dallastown. And then the very last box is not zip code or state. It is date, and it needs to be in chronological order. So you can't have April 23rd and then have the next person write April 22nd. That will get like challenged essentially. And then you don't sign the back as the circulator until you are either done collecting signatures on that page or it's full. And the date has to either be the same date as the last signature or after. Rule of thumb for me, I always do it the next day. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I am here, and I've said this a number of times, for anyone who has any questions, needs any support. I'm happy to be that to anyone who needs it.
Great. Thank you, Christine. Yes, so if we could get, a couple dozen supporters, right, out on primary day, standing at a polling place, gathering signatures, we could get all the signatures that we need. But
Brian, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. The best way to figure out where to collect signatures is to look at previous election data. You want to look at primary data since we're going out on primary day, and not, you cannot mix counties on a sheet. Sorry, I saw the comment. You can look at previous election data to see what the turnout was compared to like how many voters are in that area. And what I usually do is I pick my local polling places, and I find the one that has the highest turnout compared to the amount of voters, and that's where I spend my time, because that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And if you would need help figuring that out so that you can maximize your time spent with getting signatures, I'd be happy to help you work that data.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Once
if you're
again, I've put on the chat, you can download the full list of 17 or 18 do's and don'ts and the links to Christine's video and another longer video on signature collection.
yeah, and if you're interested in helping out on us out on this, please email me at my email. I will put in the chat here. Give me a second. And I will send you a copy of the nomination papers for probably for your county and a couple of the surrounding ones. You'll only need one of those for the primary day, but a couple of things to remember is when you print out a nomination paper, it has to be on legal sized, 8.5 by 14, and it has to be double-sided.
It also has to be AABB. So the top on the one side has to be the top on the other. I only say that because sometimes when like Staples has printed, it'll be AB on one side, and then it does it where you would flip it and it would be easily read instead of flipping it like a book. I hope that makes sense. That's how it was described to me at the the election office, AA to BB versus having AB to BA.
Okay, so I think
So
suffice
Chris,
it to
let me
say,
ask you a question. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So when you just flip it, so there's your front side, and then you just flip it to the next side, right? That's the correct setup.
So yeah, so imagine it's a page in a book, okay? And you're on the right side of the page and you read it top to bottom, and then you flip it to go to page 3. You would be able to read it straight down again. Like you don't have to turn it upside down, if that
You
makes
just
sense.
flip it. You have to flip it over.
You just turn it to the side. I
Right.
know that sounds ridiculous, like you shouldn't have to say that, but I have had Staples print my nomination papers where you like read it and then you flip it towards you like up, and then it's the opposite. So I just want to make sure that you're flipping it like a book from
like short edge. Is that what you mean? Not long edge?
I don't
Yeah.
know what that means.
I mean, you turn it. I think the answer is that, again, using the video here. So this is the front side. This is a Chester ballot. Okay. So there's signatures here. And then you turn it over. You just turn it this way. And there are signatures, the signatures play off the other page. I think that's probably the right way.
it sounds like the right way.
Right.
Yeah,
Kristen,
it would
let
be
me ask
long,
you.
not
let me
wide.
Let me ask you another question. So if someone, and I know because I have been gathering signatures too, someone screws it up, okay, is the best advice is just cross through that line and let them sign the next line.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yep,
that
it'll
happens.
make it the most legible.
Right. That happens. In other words, having done this, people will, I mean, the place where people screw up the most is the township versus their mailbox. So
I actually find the place that people mess up the most is the signature and the print of their name.
I've seen
they
that too.
reverse them. Yeah.
So let me just say one other thing. As one of the 2 statewide candidates, and I've said this to everybody before, if you are planning a signature day, I am happy to come to be with you to do this. It is easier. It's easy to ask people for help. It's even easier when you have the person in the room. So if there's an opportunity over the next, between now, obviously there's primary day, but then beyond that, I'm willing to come to help get this done because look, we've had a great launch. We have gotten, today again, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette wrote an article about the race. They talked about there's 7 candidates and after they fight off, they have to they have to run against Eric Settle of the Forward Party. I mean, the fact that they are talking about us in a major newspaper is really important, but none of it matters. If we don't get our 2,500 signatures plus, none of it matters. So I need everybody's help. I'm doing it myself, but I need your help, and I'm willing to come to you if I can to help you do it as well.
What a great transition to our next person, Nancy Hanks, who is holding events to get the word out and gather signatures. Nancy, why don't you tell everybody what you're doing?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. My plan is to go out in Rittenhouse Square in Philly. And I'm personally not committing to every Saturday, but the concept here is that we would man a table at Rittenhouse Square. There's a great farmers market there every weekend. Lots and lots of foot traffic, lots of people interested in politics and looking for options. And it would be great, Eric, if I can let you know when I'm confirming, and if you, any of those times that you could come would be great.
Yeah, no, Nancy, I absolutely, just let me know. You have, I have my ad, it's Eric at Eric Settle, 4 ag.com.
Maybe we could put it in the chat. Keep it.
Yes,
Jack?
Brian,
I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it, but yeah, put it in the
Okay.
chat. That'd be
All
good.
right.
Jack?
Also on the PDF, if you print out the PDF, his name there and the links to the videos are all on there, and 17 do's and don'ts.
Jack, to answer your question, they can both be on the same form. And if we would have anyone running like a state representative in that area too, they can also be on the form. So it's anyone who's going to be on the ballot essentially for that area.
And from what I understand, from what you all are saying, I have 40 years of running as an independent and putting independents on the ballot and putting Democrats and Republicans on the Independence Party ballot in New York because there's fusion. So, but I'm looking to, to Kristen and, and Ben and all of you for, the specifics about Pennsylvania. But it looks to me like we have Eric, and who's the other candidate for,
Chris.
it's running as a forward as, yes, and on the same ballot, and anybody who stops in, somebody who's come in from Chester, PA, can sign it in Rittenhouse Square.
Right. Well, we bring, what we did, and what I've been doing is I carry the logical ones, and then I carry a blank one.
Right.
So that you're ready to go when somebody says, "Oh, I live in Adams County," which we did. Actually, we had Adams and Franklin County people this week.
That was actually going to be my recommendation to everybody. And I said this at the other meeting, is I always take the ones that are relatively close. So like I'm in York, so I take Lancaster, Adams, Dauphin, Berks. And then I always still have blanks. And I keep blanks in my car so that if I'm out and I end up talking to someone and politics comes up, I have the opportunity to gather a signature there. So personally, I'd recommend from now until July to keep some in your car. As a worst case scenario, you have them on hand.
I guess I'm confused about whether you need so I have 2 statewide candidates on my petition. A person shows up at Rittenhouse Square. Do they have to live in Pennsylvania? Do they have to live in Philadelphia to sign that petition?
So you ask them what county they live in. And if they say Delaware County, Philadelphia County, what have you, then you pull out the county, the paper that's specific for that county. So if you're in Philadelphia County, you would, and they say they live in Delaware County, you would want to have a paper ready or a blank that you could make for Delaware County, and then you would have them sign that.
The reason for this is because what they do when the party wants to challenge them, they'll go into the voter rolls. Those voter rolls are county specific, so they have to be So they asked candidates to be county specific on those papers.
Each paper
Okay,
has to be
yeah,
for only
I'm,
one
I think
county,
I'm just
only one
having,
county. If a paper has only signatures from people from that county, you have to have a separate paper for each county that a person comes from. You can't mix them.
I'm just amazed, so I keep asking. I'm just shocked, but anyway, it's not the first time.
Yeah, and we have some recorded videos, you know, with a lot more of this information. I don't want to intimidate everybody. We just, you know, want to make sure it's done right, because when these signatures get challenged, they kick off the ones that don't count, and you know, we want to have as many that count as possible. So,
And
yes.
just to give a perspective, if we were to get challenged, so I was challenged for my state representative run. I had needed a minimum of 300 signatures. We collected 600 signatures, and so I was challenged, and it cost us over $5,000 to fight that for a state representative low run, and that was with a discount. We had a lawyer who gave us a discount. It would have actually been over $10,000 to challenge to fight the challenge for a state representative run with 600 signatures. So just imagine the cost in the event that we would be potentially challenged for a statewide candidate and having to validate and fight for 2,500 signatures.
Right.
That's why it sounds so intense, but we want to make sure that we do it right and do the work ahead of time so that we don't have to pay the cost and do the work that's even harder after the fact.
Right.
Right. Jack, did you have something?
I did. It was more of a question, because you might have done this already, but has someone taken like a Word document or created a PDF or something that's pre-formatted for legal size paper, pre-formatted for page 1 and page 2, that already has the exact correct spelling of Eric and Chris? Like, is it Chris Foster or is it Christopher H. Foster Jr.?
It's all made up. It's all made up. Ben has those documents that he can send to anyone that wants them, and he can fill in the county, or he can leave them blank so you can fill in the counties that you need, making it as simple as possible. But yeah, we just need to, he has them made.
When somebody asks me for them, I will try to get you as many of the region as I can get, and I'll put it in a zip drive and send it to you. Some of the regions have more counties and will not, and I am limited to a certain file size in emails. So,
Obviously I'm not the expert here, but is there a line that you could just like write in the county so it's the same blank? And so then if Nancy like suddenly trips over somebody from who knows, you know, Allegheny County, who just happened to be visiting friends in Philly, she could just write Allegheny on the upper right-hand corner, and that suddenly becomes an Allegheny County thing. I mean, I would think there should be one thing that's good for everywhere.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
whenever-
think I think it sounds like what I should do. It might be really good if Eric and Jeffrey and I together could do the first, because Eric has experience doing this, and the three of us could learn how to do this in person together for, you know, an hour or two or whatever it is. Come up with a time that fits for all of us. And it sounds like to me for Rittenhouse Square, what's good would be petitions for the collar counties and blanks. And there is, I mean, and Ben, I'm not sure if you said there is a county ballot for Philadelphia, or I'm not sure now whether you said, I think you said there was, but I didn't see it, or whatever.
There is.
Okay.
And I can get you the Southwest. I'll send you another zip of it.
Okay.
I have no problem being redundant.
Thank you.
Right. As it turns out, that's the easiest. I think Krista makes the point. the putting the county on the top is probably the easiest thing we have to do. So carrying the blanks that then turn into that county works.
Right.
So yeah, so Nancy, just let me know and I'll be there and we can go do it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Make sure you spell the county right. You can't write Philly for Philadelphia County, and you can't write Del for Delaware. Just
Right.
should be common sense. I just want to make sure that that was stated.
Sure.
So
I'm gonna hear Kristen's voice in the middle of the night. Just gonna hear that.
okay, so just to some of our, people on this call that haven't, interacted in a way like this before, this is a great time to be involved. It could be so much help for us if you could, over the next few months, get a few sheets filled, on primary day, if you can spend a few hours gathering signatures, we'd be glad to walk you through it. Like I think you can tell, there's some specifics that we want to touch base with you on, and we can send you the files that you need, and answer any questions you have. Please reach out. Please reach out. Peter, yeah.
Yeah, just there's one exception to having to have multiple counties. If you go to primary day to the polls, those people are going from that county where the polling place is. All you need is have more than one sheet if you think you're going to get more than 25 signatures. But you don't have to have different counties. You have the county of the polling place.
Exactly. So we still have over a week to get that lined up. Please let us know. Please reach out. Anybody else on this topic? Okay, great. All right, as far as our state organization goes, we happily elected Jeff Greasewood to the Northeastern Regional Chair. He's been involved for a while. I want to thank him for taking on the role and congratulate him for being elected, and I'm sure he'll do a great job.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention again that nominations for state chair are open. Christian Fike has done a great job. I'm sure he will continue to do a great job. But he's asking for anybody else to throw their hat in the ring that's interested. If you have another way that you think that this whole organization could run, I mean, perfect as it is and seems, I think there might be some people that may find small things that they think that they could adjust and show us how to run this organization even better. We'd love to hear it. So it's a real ask. If you or someone thinks that they can take this on and lead, please reach out. Any amendments and bylaws, coming up to the convention again, that there are bylaws. We voted on them last year and put them into place, and there's ways that we conduct things as an organization. If you, I think the bylaws are available, have probably been emailed out. You may have a copy of them. If there's things that you think that we should change about the way we do things, this is a great time to bring it up. Another big ask is we have a new website. I don't know who has been there so far. You may have seen it recently. If you clicked on one of our links for our events, it looks a little bit different. But if you go to paforwardparty.com, you'll see a website that looks like this. I know it just looks like it looks a little bit different, but on the back end, it means a whole lot more than that. It's a website that now we are handling in a way that Forward as a national party has been handling up to this point. So we have more responsibilities when it comes to running a website. So if you have a background in running a website, or think that you can help us make it look even better and customize it, we'd love to hear from you. I don't think that any of us are really proficient at this, but we're learning, and we'd love to get some help from someone that really knows what they're doing. Another thing is that our data on the back end has changed a little bit. So you may see some changes in the way that emails look, or notifications and events and things look a little bit different. And our data, our list of supporters is going to change. So anybody that could go to this new website and sign up again, like hit be a volunteer again, it like refreshes your information in our data. It helps us a lot. So if you could do that, go to the new website, click on something that requires you to put your information in, and yeah, we'd really appreciate that.
And I would also like to mention, getting your address right on when you do that is really helpful to us, because that lets us know where you are, and there are algorithms that will let us know what targets are, what people are in which areas. So
Right.
that's very helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. Very helpful when we're trying to, send emails to a specific state house race. The district is pretty small and we're trying to target our emails. Ben's absolutely right. Okay, call to action. We've been talking about it. Gathering signatures on primary day. Huge help. Plan for the convention on June 1st. We'd love for people to get their tickets and RSVP so we know who's coming. It's going to be a lot of fun. So please plan on making the trip to Gettysburg. Candidates, reach out to the candidates on these primary elections to find out where they stand on the issues that are important to us or you, and let us know. Support Ballot PA and their efforts. And between now and November, we can still get more state house reps on the ballot. So if you know someone if you're in a district that there's no competition, only a Republican or only a Democrat is running, if someone is a registered independent and wants to run for office, we can get them on the ballot. We just have to gather these signatures like we're talking about, and they can be a forwardist, run for state house or Senate. In your neighborhood, organize others to gather signatures, like Nancy hold an event where people can come help. I think we can get a lot better interest if people are gathering signatures as a group instead of just asking people to do it as a one-off. We're happy to send out emails to specific locations and try and get people together. And yeah. Oh, donations. We have a website to support now. So yeah, donations help us so much. We really appreciate them. And another part of the data that changed with the new website, our donations changed a little bit. So if you were already doing a recurring donation, it might be a good idea if you go to the new website and set it up again. So yeah, I thank everyone that joined. We'll do a question and answer. If anybody had anything that they wanted to bring up, now would be a great time.
I did want to also reiterate that doing a monthly donation, no matter the amount, really helps us. It lets us know that you're really a strong supporter and helps us plan for throughout the year.
Absolutely. Rachel, yeah.
Oh, I just had a question really for like Christine and maybe Eric and Chris. Would you suggest like knocking on doors after Prime, like, in the spring and
Yes.
summer? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You could like buddy up or something. Yeah.
So you can pull, we can talk about this more in depth later. But you can pull voter data and you can door knock on like targeted doors. I did that for my race. I looked for independents. Or I did because I let's just say I pulled voter data and I targeted which doors I was going to knock on. So we can do that, or you can just randomly walk, but you risk the chance of people not knowing if they're a registered voter or not. So I find it beneficial to pull voter data and kind of base it off of that.
Yeah, Rachel, I've done it. I think the idea, and I'm up for it. I've done it before, but I think it does make sense to pull the street lists, so we know where we're going. So we target a house that's either an independent or at least has registered voters.
Yeah. Is that something like the Good Party resources would give us? Or I don't know, Eric, are you using any of those? Or?
If you make a good relationship with your local election office, they might be able to help you pull that too. I had that happen for my magistrate judge candidate last year. The election office printed literally all of the voter data for us. But there's some systems online that allow you to break it down too.
Okay, great.
Yep, I'm up for knocking on doors. We just make sure we have a good door to knock on.
Yeah, no, I am too. You know, it's less intimidating maybe than like hosting an event. I don't know. Seems neighborly.
Okay, but also this idea of, and again, I'll just put it out there, this idea of what I call a friend raiser, where you just invite some people over, you know, I can come, obviously I'm on the east side of the state, and we get signatures, and sometimes what comes from those is people go, hey, I like that person, let me give some money. But the thing is, it's hard to ask for money. It's easier to ask people to come and just meet somebody.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
when
good
you're
stuff.
gathering signatures, if you're at a get together and Memorial Day or whatever, is Memorial Day coming up? If you're at a get together and there's 25 people there, getting those signatures can be a big help.
Right.
Okay. I see a question here about guidance to getting a spiel ready. Spiel. That video that Christine shared is a great place to start with that. She walks through the kind of questions you might get when you're gathering signatures, and role plays it great. Thank you to her husband for the acting.
Right. I mean, one of the things we always like to say is, look, you don't have to actually vote for us, but you're just giving us an opportunity to be on the ballot. And, it's interesting because, Kristen, I don't know if you've had this experience, but, when you're gathering signatures outside of a polling place where the only people there are registered Republicans or Democrats, you may run into a little hostility, like, well, why should I help you people? And the answer is, yeah, go ahead.
So to that point, I am a super bubbly person, and I know this won't work for everybody, but when I'm at the polls, I make them like me. And I end up having them actually send people over to me to sign stuff because I usually get to them first because I pounce on them before, because I'm not trying to sell them on who to vote for. I'm just trying to get a signature. So I try and get it out of the way so that the candidates or whoever's behind me can work. And so I'll be like, can you, and this is what I wanted to say, and I mentioned this in a different video. I always like to add a personal touch. Like if it's not me running for office, my friend Eric is running for office, and he is a great guy. And, we just think that there should be more than 2 options available to people. Can you please help me get him on the ballot? And, when you add that personal touch, whether you know Eric or not, like it gives this, like, it feels like they're helping you help a friend versus just some guy on a piece of paper that no one knows. And then what I tend to do is I'm like, and they have some information for you over there. You should go grab that from them. Whether you support it or not, like just encouraging and showing that you're willing to work with all sides and just kind of the hospitality of like working with everyone. That is how I usually fend off the negative stuff. I do get occasionally some people, but I tend to just be that kill them with kindness, and then it makes them look bad when they say stuff.
Hey, Kristen, one other question. Logistically, where do you position yourself on a primary day? So you got where are you literally standing as it relates to getting signatures?
I stand outside the main entrance, and I usually stand right where they're going to walk. And I try and get in front of whoever else is there. Because again, I'm not trying to sell them. So the last thing that they want, that the people behind us want them to hear, is who they should vote for. So I try and be in front. And then, if there's downtime and there's no one there, I actually like make up conversation with them. Like, hey, this is all I'm trying to do. Like, I'm just getting signatures. I can pass them on to you, and kind of let them know that you're not trying to take the time away from them. So I try and position myself, like I was at I forget what it was, like a borough office or something, and the two people were right, like on the sidewalk, one on the right side, one on the left, as you would get up to the entrance, and I'm 5 feet in front of them. Some people like to stand at the exit if there's one door for entrance and one for exit. I find that I get less signatures because they're just ready to go.
Right.
So,
all right. Thank you.
I have a question. Do you know, Christine, if you have to give permission beforehand at a polling place to stand outside, or
no. However, and this is a recommendation that I make to everyone, is go inside and introduce yourself to the judge of elections in there, the person who's running the polling site. Gives them a face and an idea of who you are. If you do that and you're wearing any stuff that, is forward related or anything like that, make sure you cover it up. But it's great to establish that relationship with them, because then if you need to use the restroom, they're more likely to let you use the restroom in there instead of having to leave the polling site. But it also, I've made friends at my local polling where they just know to expect me there on election day. And the one day I ended up at a different spot, and she actually texted me and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" So building that relationship allows you both to kind of be on the same page of what you're doing there, and what they can kind of expect. Because when you show up with the clipboard, sometimes they're on edge and they're like, what is happening? This isn't, I don't know who this party is and what have you. So going in and just kind of being like, can I talk to the judge of elections? Hi, my name's Christine. I'm here collecting signatures for forward party candidates, a new third party in Pennsylvania. I just wanted to come and introduce myself and let you know who I am outside. And they're usually pretty receptive to that. But no, you don't need to. The rule of thumb is you have to be 10 feet away from where the polling is happening. So basically you need to be 10 feet away from the front door. Right. Some places are a little bit more like, try to be a little bit more strict on that, but they apparently don't know the rules. And I've been kicked off of church grounds because of how my car was decorated. So just keep that in mind.
And the weather looks good for next Tuesday. 63 and partly cloudy.
If only there was another eclipse like Ben has there.
Yes, I can see. Was that a shot you got live?
Yeah, I went up to Conneaut Lake, to my friend's lake house up there, and the clouds parted like 2 or 3 minutes right before totality, and we got to see an amazing event up there. I'll remember it for the rest of my life.
Very cool.
I had just another quick question. Is there anyone or is anyone checking these signatures before they get turned in?
We did have a conversation about that. Nothing's, from what I know, set in stone. But there was discussion about scanning every paper that came in so that we have a copy. So in the event we get challenged, we're able to jump on it sooner. But that way we can also share the files around and validate through voter data, all of the signatures, so that we can get a better idea of how many we have that should pass a challenge in the event going into it. But so we have discussed it. I don't know if anything's been set in stone.
Yeah. But we almost certainly will have a process of doing that. We haven't decided on it yet. We'll cross that bridge later on.
But definitely, collecting them at the convention is still the plan. So,
yeah.
That would be a good time to compare. But it would be good to have someone look at them, when Nancy gets her first 2 sheets full, everyone can look at it and make sure it looks right. Before she fills 10 more and finds out there was an issue. So Great. Okay, guys. Anything else anybody want to bring up? Hopefully Christian will be back to host next month's statewide call. But thank you so much for joining. I always appreciate everybody here. Yeah, hope to talk to you all soon.
All right. Thanks, guys, for all your help.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks.